little bit hardcore on the cookies. Flipping Tim Tams and everything sitting up there. Yeah. Can't live without me troll cookies. No, I've sort of, some weeks there I just don't have any at all, and other weeks, oh well, you know, you're there and they're cheap, and then you walk out with a blooming armful of them. Just running this. I was actually using this to just move the hose across and refill the watering can there as I was trying to rehydrate that in there. I was really quite surprised that it was so dry, but anyway, the last IBC is starting to get filled. Long story short, it filled up a bit. I had 150 litres in there, and I thought, well, I've got to check this bloody tap. The fitting that goes through the wall, that black thing, fine, not a problem. Where the tap hook's on, it's just dripping. It's about a drip a minute. And I thought, shit, well maybe I've got to fill this and then empty it in the summer, and then once it's emptied, before I transfer any water from the other IBCs into it, I should redo the fitting. Otherwise I'm going to lose 150 litres. I thought, bullshit. You're going to do it now. Lose your 150 litres, get it over and done with, and then it won't be leaking away slowly until you need it, at which point it'll probably be down to bloody 3/4 or less. So I went down there and I took the tap off, and I blocked the damn hole with my hand and held back this 150 litres that would otherwise just go over the ground with one hand, while using the Teflon tape with the other hand to rewind it on. There just wasn't enough Teflon tape. Now usually when you do brass fittings, like they all used to have, you didn't need that much tape. These plastic fittings, somebody's cheaping out or something, and you need so much tape, it's ridiculous. And yeah, basically I got enough tape on there, and initially I unwound the tap so it was just hanging on the edge of the fitting, just on the last couple of threads, and I was winding it that way, and then I took it off, blocked it with my hand, wound a bit more, and then wound back in towards the front, and I had to take my hand off and put the tap fitting back on, and in that it sort of sprayed some of the tape around that I'd already wrapped on, already looped around anyway, but it didn't flick off very much. It was only like the last revolution, so I gently got that and I rewound it back on, and I wound it right up into quite a way up, where I had the tape rather thick, and you know, when you're turning this tap on and off, you don't want to hang it on the last few threads, you want it a fair way in. So I got a bloody lot of tape further up compared to right near the end, and it's all sealed last night, and I thought, well, it's still all wet, you can't be sure it's not leaking, let it dry out for the day, or dry out in the sun for a bit. And so I done that, and I went down there and checked it just then. In the process of that, I'd left this going because I'd been filling the thingo here, and then I thought, stuff it, you might as well just leave it on and start filling down there. And so I kept filling down to there, and I thought, shit, you better go check that. So I turned off the little tap there, and I've only just turned it back on, and then flicked on the main one coming from the tank here that you see flowing. So yeah, that's fairly thrown out a fair bit of water. So that's it's one of these things. This, you know, it's only gravity feed at the height of about bloody you know, like about a foot or something like that. So the tap connection is probably only a foot higher than where the pipe is here, and because it's all only gravity feed, it'll go like this, and then it goes slower, and then slower, and then at the end of the day, it's just like a trickle, and you know, you can be waiting forever for this to empty out. So there's quite a chance that I'm pretty certain this is actually emptying it faster than I'm filling it. Doesn't matter if it isn't, because sometimes it does and it creeps its way up, and then you just turn it off and let it get down a bit and then flick it on again, and just keep an eye on it every 20 minutes. But there's a very close correlation between the speed that's flown out and the speed it disappears at, so that it'll literally take you half an hour to get even, you know, 3/4 of the way up, sort of thing. So you can sort of keep a bit of an eye on it anyway. But there comes a point where it actually goes the other way, and it'll actually empty out faster than it's coming in. And if I leave this like this can be going for, another 2.5 hours before that's actually going to stop. You know, and it isn't a highly, I mean, now it's pretty good, but the last half an hour of that 2.5 hours, it'll be just trickling out, sort of thing. But, you know, whatever. It's got all day to let it go down there, and yeah, the winds all of a sudden picked up quite a lot, so don't know what's on with that. I think I've got to go and have a look at my bins. They should be emptied by now. So, anyway. That's still going. Not terribly clear in the head today. I just stayed up far too late last night, and it sort of has a bit of an effect the next day. And it doesn't help that I was cooking eggs, boiling eggs on the wood stove, which takes quite a while, so you don't get to eat for quite as quickly. It's one of the things about you know, people who want to be full-blown self-sufficient and all that. You know, if you're going to try and go down that path of doing everything on a wood stove, it's good if you've got a good wood stove, or one of those ones where you've got the individual wok or the individual pot that you can sit right on the top. But when you're going to sort of have a hot plate that's twice as thick as it was supposed to be because the original one got lost, and you know, the idea is that you're going to cook everything on an older style wood stove where you know, have actual hot plates. It may take a little bit longer to cook things than you think, and you may sort of be waiting for breakfast a lot longer than you were hoping. Which is why that a lot of the times I actually boil eggs the day before, which I should actually be doing now, because I've got to go into town tomorrow and do a fair bit of stuff. So bit of luck I've just been boiling some potatoes on this and just sort of let it just simmer down to almost nothing. I've still got some red coal. Oh, that's great. I'll put a bit of skinny stuff in there, whack a bit of pine in there, and that'll restart without a problem. Just put the potatoes down. We run out of sheep meat, so we're back to the cheapo chicken mince that I've been keeping in the freezer for the last few months. Oh yeah, got him a dog food bowl, because some of these bits of mince and, you know, bits of leg and that a little bit too big, particularly, you know, the mince that I got bagged up, it's already frozen, and I go to stick it in a bowl, like a little plastic disposable one, and it's just too big, and it tips the bowl over, and then it's laying on the flipping lino. So I thought, well, I'm going to get him a bowl, or I should get him a, well, I wasn't really thinking at all. I've been meaning to get him a bowl for a long time, and I was in a cheapo dollar store style place, and yeah, they had these bowls, and they're bloody enormous. I mean, look at the size of the damn thing. It's it's probably 9 or 10 inches across, at $3, so I just got it. It's actually purple. The camera's showing it as blue. It's actually purple. Another thing I realised doing a lot of this, I've been sort of picking them off with my fingers. I just sort of come in and I roll my finger and then pick up a bunch of them. And there's not many there. But before I was getting absolutely heaps, because there's a lot of them building up. As you are smart enough to know what that is, it's wrigglers. And I don't think the camera's going to show it, but they're, well, actually they're not still, oh yeah, there's a couple wriggling. They're fine in water. That's mosquito larvae. They're fine in water, but when you turn the water off and it dries out, they just die and basically dry up shrivel up. I've just realised, and as I'm emptying this water tank, in the process I'm getting rid of tons of these mosquito larvae, and so you're sort of getting a benefit purely in reducing the amount of mosquitoes, because the bloody thing's always been in that tank, and it's pretty common to have them in water tanks. There's not a great deal I can do about it unless I'm going to take off the overflow outlet, put mosquito mesh on that, then put mosquito mesh on the inlet, then there's a secondary hole in the top as well, blah blah blah. My father had a good idea. Oh, what you do is you pour some kerosene in there, and that blocks off the water from getting oxygen, and it kills them all. I'm not drinking any water, or even dealing with any water going through plastic piping, even for the purpose of watering gardens. It has kerosene in it, and I don't care about how it's supposed to work, because the fact of the matter is, in doing this, I run this tank out completely, and like, do you really want to go putting petroleum-based products in a tank? Even if you don't completely empty the tank, which with this one we do, is that something you want to do? It's not something I want to touch on. But anyway, we're getting rid of a lot of them. And sometimes you see it as the water's flowing, they'll actually come straight out with the water, and then you'll see them sort of go to the side there. But anyway, one of those things that, you know, as time moves on, you go and, you know, take it off and give it a wash, but it's doing a fair bit of good just in reducing the amount of mosquitoes that I've got to face in the bloody summer. So there mightn't be very many at all that I have to face. And fortunately, none of the mosquitoes in this part of the country, I'll make that point, in this part of the country, never mind other parts of the country, in this part of the country they don't carry any disease. Up north you can get Ross River fever and all this other sort of crap, and you get to Papua New Guinea and there's dengue fever, which me grandfather had to deal with, and malaria and freaking everything. But anyways, that's an added benefit of emptying that tank out, as opposed to just leaving it full at all times. I might just change something here. Good busy. You keep eating him, buddy. Yeah, you ain't gonna see it. Tabby cat got a rat. He's growling because Black Kitty's watching. Go on, Black Kitty, don't eye him off. You got all the blooming chicken mince still sitting there. I wonder if you cats eat that chicken mince while I'm away tomorrow. Serve up all this stuff for you to blooming ignore it all, and it's still been cool enough so it hasn't gone bad or anything. Yeah, I don't bother mentioning many of the mouse shenanigans, but Black Kitty has been getting a lot more than Tabby Cat, and brought one in about 2 nights ago, got another mouse, brought it in. Tabby Cat was laying on the bed, sleeping against my legs, and Black Kitty was playing with this mouse, and the thing wasn't even. It was full of beans still. It was running like hell. And I kept on with the old eat it, eat it, eat it thing, and a few minutes later it got eaten. You always know you can relax and go to sleep when you hear the cracking noise, because that's, well, the skull being crushed basically. And then you guarantee that it's not going to be chased around in circles for another however long. The time we had the one session there, it went on for bloody 50 minutes at about blooming 1:30 AM or something like that. 2 AM, that was not a good night, because then she brought in another one as well. Didn't you, Black Kitty? Hey? you and your mice. At least Tabby Cat's only going to bring him into the veranda and eat him on the veranda. And maybe the kitchen, but he's not going to bring him into my bedroom. And the funny thing is, she likes to bring him back live. He will just about always bring them back dead. So he kills them on the spot and then carry, down the paddock and then carries them back to the house. And it just saves me losing sleep if they're not running around my bloody bedroom. So yeah, that's what he's like. He has sometimes turned up with live rabbits. And then even then, sometimes you turn up with rabbits that are, completely stuffed sort of thing that he's killed down the paddock. But anything about the rats I'm not too keen on is they often have a tendency just to leave the guts behind, whereas the mice, they'll eat the entire thing. But anyway, that's why I have a whole big bunch of nitrile gloves here, and hydrogen peroxide wipes, and baby wipes, and all the other bits and pieces. It's just what you get when you got cats that were feral kittens who ain't scared to flame and have a go at whatever. Have a go at any flipping wildlife that's smaller than them, and in one case they're almost equal to them in size the time they got the flaming adult rabbit. If you guys can see it, it's a big tanker there. I think it may be an oil tanker. Zulu C. A couple other odds and sods here. There's another big blooming setup. I don't know exactly. Yeah, I think that might be a permanent structure there. A couple of smokestacks. Still very heavy industry around here. Still fertiliser in that joint. Alrighty. Well, that was a big circus. And a couple of videos there that I won't need to upload. I've been keeping something a bit quiet from you guys. Nothing too dramatic. It's just the old car's been going through oil like you would not fucking believe it. And yeah, I've had the hood up this morning trying to tighten the rocker cover. I was pretty certain it was probably the rocker cover. Or the sump bolts. I had it parked yesterday in the, what's his name, in the supermarket. And it was sitting there for an hour, and I come back out and there's frickin' oil drips under it. Like about 6 or 7 drips on the ground. I'm like, oh, this is just great, isn't it? And looking at where the drips were, I thought, oh shit, it's a front main. And so I've gone and tightened, rocker cover bolts and a few other bolts, and I've got underneath with a socket in my hand to socket and the ratchet there to try and tighten the sump bolts where they bolt onto the, the sump pan bolts onto the block. And it was all dry there, but right underneath where the front main is, which is basically where your crankshaft comes out through the front of your engine to run your fan belt, but that's got 2 electric fans, but you're still, runs your alternator, your air conditioner, your power steer and all that crap. And there's all oil there, and all underneath the bottom of the alternator, and all down the bloody bottom of the sump, and all that, and oh shit. Although this might be the final gong if this is going to cost us some hellish amount, because they need to, pretty much take the engine out to replace the damn front main, and that means take the propane system out, and all the fucking electricals and bullshit, and lift it out, and sump off, and blah blah blah, and all this stuff. She might be the final straw that breaks the donkey's back. Where my father's going to upgrade his car, one of his cars, in about 6 months, and I was thinking, well, maybe I'll have to convince him to take the old 97 model Ford off his hands, as opposed to, take it to guys for a trade-in who really don't even want to take it for a trade-in. But I've gone around to my mechanic, who just lives a a couple of miles up the road, literally. And he said to me, I've never had to replace a front main on these things, but there is a belt tensioner for all your fan belt stuff and all that. And I don't know if it's intertwined with the timing or something like that, but long story short, this tensioner thing is hiding underneath the power steering pump, and they have a bolt on it, and it's one of these jobs where if you don't know what you're doing, you can stuff it up, because the bolts this tensioner onto the block is the same one that is used to tension the chain in a certain way. It's a bizarre setup with this bolt. It's some sort of a ratcheting bolt thing. But what it is, when they have this bolt on the block, you know, that model of car's got the same block for the last 25 years. But they've, like the same casting anyway, but when they've put this chain tensioner on, the chain tensioner bolt actually goes right through the block into where the oil is and gets oil on the end of the bolt, and you've got an O-ring on that bolt, and the O-ring fucks up, and then oil comes out of it. And because it's in a very close position to the front main, where the crankshaft comes through, you assume it's the same thing because it's only a few inches either way, and you look underneath and you see there's oil, it's all around the same area, and you just go, oh shit, it's a front main. But he said, I've never had to replace a front main, and he says, sure as eggs, it'll be that blasted O-ring. The O-ring is worth nothing, but it is a bit of you got to know how to tension it, otherwise you will actually crush the O-ring, and you know, not tension the belt properly and blah blah. So it's a bit of a bitch to get to because it's got so much shit above it, and basically it's a 2-hour job, he reckons, to do it, because it's very hard to get to and it's got to be tensioned correctly and all that. Parts wise it costs nothing, it's just a labour thing, but you got to know what you're doing, because he said so many people go and destroy the damn O-ring in the process of re-putting another one on. So anyway, that's about 160, 180 bucks worth of labour, and I'll probably leave that with him next week. And I said, I think the old car's pretty much run its race, and he said, no, it's not that hard it's not that big a deal, you know, it's not not time for another engine, which, you know, as I said, if it's time for another engine, I might as well just friggin' give up on it, you know, because I'll be throwing too much money into something that's just gradually going downhill because it's 17 years old already. So anyway, that's good news, and I'll just have to borrow my father's car for a day or so there with this, if this new job goes ahead, and yeah, get that sorted. I could not believe this shit. I'm sitting at just on the seat there, kitchen table, on the tablet, just listening to Elvis talking shit. And what happens is, when I have chicken, I leave this out, and I get the little bowl. It's just one of those crappy little lemon red plastic bowls sitting over there, just disposable bloody picnic stuff. And I have the cat's food in that. And what happens is, this drum that I got the cat food in, I'll put the little bowl of cat food in there to make sure they eat the bloody chicken as opposed to just eating all the kibbles. In the process of eating some of the kibbles, and more often than not, just because I sort of pour it in and just flipping, you know, you have a couple sort of go over the side. And sometimes the cat's nosing around in there as the bowl moves to tip a couple out. And I'm sitting there on this seat, and I look over, and there's a fucking mouse standing there, grabs hold of a kibble, and runs back in behind the wall here. Now, in my bedroom, I have skirting boards. Along that side of the wall there, I have a skirting board. You can see I've got the white gap sealant on the top edge of the skirting board. because you know the framing of this place is pretty good, but could be better in some areas with some leans, and sometimes I you know, actually go ahead and use a bit of gap sealant. This one ain't too bad, so I haven't really bothered with gap sealant, but that's a skirting board there, same there. As I said, the bedroom's done throughout to stop bloody cold wind blowing in. But the kitchen table and all this was here. That is the original position where it was when my uncle put it in here back in probably 1999 or sometime around then. And I never got a blasted skirting board along here. Furthermore, I had a bunch of tools and shit sitting here at one point. And I've dropped the bloody bottle opener down there. It's a nice chrome bottle opener with a handle on it. You can't see it. You can see a bit of light coming through the gap there. I've got to get that bottle opener out, but I've never actually gone and put a skirting board along here because of where the table legs are, that you also can't see hard up against the back. And then I've gone and, you know, put firewood under the bloomin' table after cutting up a bunch of cypress pine and blah 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 blah. Anyway, long story short, the little bastard's gone through that gap, I believe, or ran in through the old stove there and shot him behind the firewood. So I couldn't bloody believe it. The other night I was in bedroom, and Tabby cat, you know, woke up and he got off the bed, and I heard him go through the little cat flap in the door, and then all of a sudden there was like this hell of a fucking shitstorm. And I thought it had something to do with the mouse, because any real full-blown shitstorms usually do have something to do with a mouse, unless the two cats are deciding to fight. On occasion, Black Kitty will lick Tabby cat, like, you know, just cleaning each other sort of thing, and then she'll decide to go and sink the claws into the ear, and Tabby cat doesn't like that very much. But that's about the only other time shitstorms occur. Anyway, he's coming in through the little cat flap, and next thing is a fucking shitstorm, and I'm hearing things get knocked over, and I reckon he come out and there was a mouse eating out of the bloody cat food bowl, and he thought, fuck that, you're not having me food. On top of that, you're a mouse, and I eat mice, and he's gone to catch it. And I must admit, I can't actually believe they got the balls to do that. I must admit, there was a night about 2 nights ago or something, where I was here and I was just getting ready to light the wood heater. I'd come back from the on-grid house, had a shower and watched far too much television, and anyway, I was there trying to get this blooming wood heater going, and next thing, Black Kitty, I've got all these 5-gallon tins, which you can't see also, full of firewood and usually box thorn and stuff like that, bit of cypress pine, a couple of old half-assed bits of blooming fence posts and whatever, and next thing, Black Kitty's crashing through all the blasted. I mean, it was all fine for the last couple of minutes, and I'd gone out and got a decent-sized log and come back in, and then all of a sudden Black Kitty just goes berserk and goes running into all the 5-gallon tins and jumping through them and all this. And next thing, she's walked out the open bedroom door and she's growling. Oh, what the fuck's this? And I look, and she's got the tail hanging out of her mouth. I don't know when it occurred, or if it was just when I went out for a couple of minutes around to where the jungle is, where I've got a couple of those decent logs that have had termites that I've left out there to keep the termites from, you know, getting into any of the other wood. And as I've come back, in that time I've gone out and got the log and then come back, the little bastard might have come through from somewhere else, and she's gone berserk, and she's caught the damn thing in amongst all the 5-gallon tins and shit on the ground. She's grabbed the bastard and walked out with it. Another one was just quite funny. I think it was actually last night. They're sitting, both of them are on the bed now. You can see his little registration tags, green. She's laying there. Both of them were sitting on the bed, and this was like, wind was blowing like hell, like it is now. And this is sort of like, oh shit, it was like about 3 AM or 2 AM or something. And I'm laying down here, and the cats are laying down there, and I think there's quite a lot of moonlight last night actually, and it was coming in through there, and I could sort of vaguely see the cats. And then in amongst the wind we hear this like this, and the two cats are laying down, and it just bang, straight, both of them straight away, bolt upright, standing upwards, looking out towards basically where the front of the house is, looking out towards this wall, and they're laying there, and then it's like click, they're both bolt upright, looking towards the wall, and then Tabby Cat's like growling, because I knew there was basically somewhere out near the old camper there was another cat meowing, and they picked up on it straight away. The reaction was bloody hilarious. But anyway, you know that, buddy? There's a little mousey still stealing your food. Oh, there you go. You can actually see him for once. Anyway, until there's a shitload of firewood moved and a lot of stuff done, I don't think I can really get a skirting board in there. I want to do the entire thing in one length. Maybe I should be putting a bit of old floorboard or something just to block the first 1.5 meters here and about 1,200 mil worth there, and just to keep the little bastards from stealing the cat food, just prop it up there or something like that. Yeah, I'll have to get that bottle opener out. This other thing you see. That's what I dry out some of the old decking board on to make it dry enough for the to use as kindling, because a lot of it's sort of damp. Which reminds me, I've got the majority of the cut up stuff. Actually, I've got the whole lot of the cut up stuff inside. But I probably should go and reload this and a few of these other buckets too. I'm just sort of oh shit, that's come off over there. It's on the top. I'm sort of just waiting for the call to come through in regards to this job. So about what my starting time is tomorrow. So anyway,